G'day everyone, welcome back to my weekly tipping video. As always, this preview is brought to you by PlayUp. If you are thinking of having a punt on the NRL this round, make sure it's through PlayUp, guys. But as always, please gamble responsibly. G'day everyone, Clarkey here. Hope everyone's been well. Obviously last round was a little bit different with rep rounds, so there was a different video to the usual week link tipping video. But we are back, guys, for round 16 of the NRL season. So 10 rounds left. We're hitting the pointy end of the season. And our top 8 teams are the Storm, Panthers, Eels, Rabbitohs, Roosters, Sea Eagles, Dragons, and Sharks. So very, very interesting with 10 rounds to go. Let's get straight into it, guys. Thursday night, the Melbourne Storm take on the Sydney Roosters at McDonald Jones Stadium. So that'll actually be up in Newcastle there, guys. I believe the Melbourne Storm, if they hold the Sydney Roosters to 0 at halftime, they will become the first team in complete rugby league history to hold the Roosters to 0 at halftime 3 games in a row. So a little bit of unique, I suppose, history there. I can see Drew Hutchinson is back for the Roosters. He's their 18th man. That's obviously really, really good to see when you consider the injuries that he's been under. For the Melbourne Storm, they do have Kenny Bromwich back. He'll return at back row, so that's obviously a big, big inclusion for them. But they will be without the suspended Nelson Asafa-Solomona and the injured Harry Grant. But with that being said, guys, regardless, I do see the Melbourne Storm winning here. They are sort of rivals of the Roosters ever since the Roosters beat them in that grand final. They always seem to get up for that game and go to another level. So for that reason, guys, I'm going to go ahead and tip the Melbourne Storm in that one by 13 points. Friday, 6 p.m, guys, the New Zealand Warriors take on the St. George Illawarra Dragons. That's at Central Coast Stadium. I'm probably going to lean with the Warriors here. It's a really tough one to pick. Both teams here, there's reasons to pick either one. But for the Warriors, I do like Roger Tuivasa-Sheck back at fullback. I do think a halves combination of Cody Nikorima and Chad Townsend will work really, really well for them. And so with the new signings coming in of Chad Townsend and Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, I think that could really boost the Warriors and unlock and get them to a new level for that game and get them over the line where they need. So I'm going to go ahead and tip the New Zealand Warriors there. 7:55 that night, guys. We've got a pretty big game here at Panthers Stadium. The Panthers are taking on the Parramatta Eels. I'm actually going to go an upset here, guys. I'm going to go the Parramatta Eels just because Dylan Edwards and Nathan Cleary are out, 2 key members of their spine. So Charlie Staines moves to fullback, Jerome Luai moves to halfback, and Matt Burton, he comes into the halves. So obviously some really, really handy changes. But regardless, the Eels have been building really nicely up until the break. I'm hoping they come back refreshed, recharged. And with Nathan Cleary and Dylan Edwards out, they are poised to strike here, even though they are underdogs. And it is at Panthers' home ground. So a bit of a risky tip there, guys. But I'm going to go the Eels. Saturday, 3 p.m, the Canterbury Bulldogs take on the Manly Sea Eagles at Bankwest Stadium. Guys, I'm with the Manly Sea Eagles here, 13+. Obviously, the news today that out for the Canterbury Bulldogs is Nick Kotrick. He'll be out for the season, but they've also got some big changes. Aaron Sharp, Adam Elliott, Brandon Wakeham, Corey Waddell, Dylan Napa, and also Sione Katoa are all out for the Bulldogs. So that has caused massive changes that I think will be too big to overcome, especially when you consider that they're coming up against players like DCE and Tom Trbojevic, who's been absolutely on fire. So I got Manly there, probably even more than 13+, guys, probably winning by 20 or 30. 5:30 at GIO Stadium, the Canberra Raiders take on the Gold Coast Titans. I think you guys can already predict who I'm going to tip here. I am going to go with my team, the Gold Coast Titans. We do get AJ Brimson back. Corey Thompson returns for us. Now, that's a massive inclusion because at the start of this year, he was sort of playing a role for us similar to Brian To'o for the Panthers. He was getting our set started really, really well and allowing our big forwards like Tino and Dave Fafita a few more steps to run into the football. So I think him returning will be a really, really huge inclusion for us. We do lose Greg Marzu to injury. And for the Raiders, Xavier Savage is out after the weirdest debut I think anyone's ever seen. Bailey Simonson stays at fullback for him. I think he's been really, really good there. And obviously Jack White and Sam Williams will make up the halves now, probably for the rest of the season this year for the Raiders. I'm probably going to go the Titans, guys. I'm going to go the Titans 1-12. It'll be a close game. I wouldn't be too surprised if the Raiders did get up there, but I'll go the Titans. Finish off Saturday, guys, at McDonald Jones Stadium. Again, the Newcastle Knights take on the North Queensland Cowboys. I am going to go ahead and tip the Knights. It appears Kalen Ponga is back for them. Also, as we know, Mitchell Pearce is back. He'll partner new signing Jake Clifford in the halves. And that moves Kurt Mann out to the centres, where I also think he can play some really, really good footy. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to go with the Knights. I think this will be a lot closer than what people think, just because the Cowboys are sort of sneaking under the radar this year. But they'll also be without their coach, Todd Payton, who's in self-isolation for 2 weeks. So I think that's also a big factor to consider. So with all things being said there, guys, I'm going to go the Newcastle Knights 1 to 12 points. Sunday, 2 p.m. at Suncorp Stadium, the Cronulla Sharks take on the Brisbane Broncos. I'm going to go ahead and tip the Sharkies there to get 5 in a row. I think they've won 4 in a row at the moment, so that's obviously massive for them. Andrew Fafita, Marwin Hiroti, and Sione Katoa are in for them, it says. However, it appears the others, they're all in the depth, actually. They're all in the reserve. So whilst they have returned, they're not actually in the 17. My apologies there, guys. For the Broncos, it says they've got some big ins. Their halves will be Tyson Gamble and Brodie Croft. That's really interesting. Katoni Staggs returns with Corey Oates. That's really interesting. Tessie New moves to fullback. That's really interesting. Overall, the Broncos could really come out with a great performance here. I think they will, but I do think the Sharks will have a little bit too much class for them. So I will go the Sharks by 2 points there. And to close out the round, guys, at Leichhardt Oval, the South Sydney Rabbitohs take on the West Tigers. I'm going to go ahead and tip the South Sydney Rabbitohs here. I know Leichhardt is an important ground for the Tigers, but you just can't go past the strike power that the Rabbitohs have at the moment. Their spine of Reynolds, Cook, Walker, and Latrell Mitchell will be too much for the Tigers, who have been largely inconsistent in a season where the Bunnies have actually been really, really consistent. I think we actually forget how consistent they have been. They've only lost the 3 games. The issue being 2 of those they lost by more than 50 points to the Panthers and the Storm. But apart from that, they've been ultra consistent this year. So I'm going to go the Bunnies there, guys. I think they'll win by 13 plus. That wraps up my tips for round 16, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'll see you all next week for my round 17 tips and preview. Cheers.